it's Aaliyah from the Song of the Winds. I hope you're doing really well. Today I'm going to be sharing with you the tarot and oracle decks that I found I use quite a lot in 2017, and I'll just talk you through why I use them, for what type of readings, and give you a quick little walkthrough. So the first deck is the Bad Bitches Tarot by Ethany. This was released in August last year, I believe, around about August. And I found that it's become invaluable for business and finance and career readings. It's my go-to deck. There's something about it, it just seems to work really well with those type of readings. The box is really nice, it's got a magnetic side. And the card backs are just absolutely gorgeous. It's like a foiled bee with a crown motif. It's really nice. And it's a really feminist deck. There isn't a single male character in there. All of the representations are female or they're non-gendered. And it takes its cues from the fashion industry, which is really interesting. Very much inspired by clothes, it seems. So I'd say that's why I really like this deck for career and business and finance type readings, because it does just show these incredibly powerful women. And the Slow Holler Tarot is a deck that I like to use when I really want to dig deep into the heart of a matter and I need to see something from a completely different perspective, and just sort of go outside myself a little bit and just really dig deep. Slow Holler has been out since about 2016. I'm not sure of the dates, but I didn't get it until about August 2017, and it's become my favourite deck for my own personal use. It doesn't have a box per se, but it comes with a really beautiful cloth, a booklet which is landscape, and they've changed quite a bit of the tarot system to make it more inclusive and more diverse. So many of the names don't sort of carry the same gender. And the artwork is just exquisite. It was a collective of, I've forgotten the exact number of artists now, but almost every card is done by a different artist. And somehow the whole deck becomes quite unique because there's a pared back palette. There's only a few colours that they use. You see repetitions of like a mustard yellow, red, black and white. And the artwork of this deck is quite frankly something you could get lost in for a very long period of time. It's a deck that I would not say I'm finished exploring by any stretch of the imagination. Each time I look at a card, there's just a different layer that I end up picking up that I didn't have previously. So I think it will continue to be one of those decks where I'll just work with it for, forever and just keep on learning something new. And learning something new about myself. Especially, it does just help you change that frame of reference, and it sort of helps you see outside of your own lens. You know how we can only ever view the world based on our own experiences, and you can kind of imagine how someone else might feel, but you've never really been there. You've never really been in their head. This feels like it brings you just that tiniest little bit closer to what it might be like to live in someone else's shoes. It's a really remarkable deck. And early in 2017, this was actually a competition win. There was a giveaway and I was lucky enough to win this deck. And it's the Witches Tarot, published by Llewellyn. And it follows the Rider Waite system. The card backs are really nice, look at this. I love those card backs. And it's interesting, like against all of my expectations, I've actually become really fond of using it because I typically don't like art that's so sort of heavily done, if that makes sense. Like if you have a look at the expression on some of these characters' faces, it's like it's real photographs, I think, that have, or paintings that have been made to look as if they're an artwork, and sometimes the facial expressions are a bit over the top. It's a little bit overacted, like, oh, gosh, or, not happy. So that was a little bit hard to sort of get into to begin with. But then when I began to work with it more, I started to really enjoy it. So I guess I'd describe this deck as fairly pragmatic. It's kind of like an all-rounder, but it's more sort of here are your options kind of voice. It doesn't really talk down to you. It's not like overly wistful or anything like that. It's just a really sort of pragmatic, I need to make a decision, what am I going to do? I usually go with the Witch's Tarot, and it typically works out quite well. And the next deck is the Dame Darcy Tarot, Mermaid Tarot by Dame Darcy. This was a lucky find on eBay. I think it had actually been, it wasn't very well described, and it was just completely randomly that I came across it, and it's a first edition, so that was really nice. It looked like it had never been used, although I can't say that for sure. Card backs are really nice, and it follows the Rider Waite system. It's kind of playful. And it was only after I'd actually gotten this deck that I started to, you know, sort of read a bit more deeply in some of the forums and reviews of this deck. And I believe there was some controversy about one of the cards. Perhaps it was Temperance. It was a card that was sort of similar to this, that was almost identical to a deck put out by Los Cabero. I can't remember what that deck was either, but I believe that sort of meant that there was a reprint done, and there was replacement cards put in. I think there was actually more than one card that was a little bit, people thought was a little bit iffy. But regardless, I really enjoy reading with it. And sometimes I think it's just a little bit softer. If there's a client reading that I'm doing where I feel like, you know, a softer, gently approach might be better, this is generally the one that I pick. But it's an all-rounder. It will pretty much do anything that you really want it to do. It can go deep. It can be surface level. Yeah, it's just a really good all-rounder deck. And then moving on to the Oracle decks that I used most in 2017, it would have to be the Sacred Rebels Oracle. And for some reason, I don't think I ever did an unboxing of this. I got it secondhand in one of the Facebook trading groups, and I think I just sort of like quickly opened it at my post box one day when I collected it, and I just sort of forgot to do a walkthrough. But I absolutely love this deck, and especially after someone has had kind of like a tough reading, or I've had a tough day, or something's going on where it's just a little bit like outside of my comfort zone, and I really have to try and push to find the lesson in it. It'll be this deck that I generally turn to. The artwork is just exquisite. I'd say out of all the Oracle decks that I have, it's probably the most sort of soul nourishing. It feels like your grandmother's made you, you know, scones and a cup of tea, and you can just talk about your bad day. It feels like you're really held in the space when you read with these cards. It's yeah, it's really lovely. So even though I generally refer to it as an all-rounder because it can do many, many different things, it's good when you're in a bit of a fragile way and you just need to be held a little bit. And much to my surprise, the other deck that I use probably more regularly than any of these other decks, The Miracles Now by Gabrielle Bernstein. And I didn't expect to like this one because I just assumed it would be a bit airy-fairy and a bit too new agey for me, but the affirmations are actually so actionable, and that's what I really like, is to be able to have an action, something that I can do at the end of it, and something that I can allow my brain to sort of fixate on when it's wanting to just fixate onto all of these other things. It's a way of like controlling the noise in my head. And I'd actually be really keen to try out her other deck, The Universe Has Your Back, but I'm kind of on a bit of a Hay House boycott, so unless one comes up secondhand, I'm not going to be using that anytime soon. But yeah, the cards are just so, they're just so empowering. I love it. Look at this one. I don't dance around the perimeter of the person I want to be. I step in fully and completely. And what actually turned me on to this deck was a friend of mine uses it in her, she used to host women's circles like once a week, and it's sort of dropped back in frequency a little bit now because she's quite heavily pregnant. And this was the card that I pulled one night after a particularly sort of rough, like really, really confronting week. And I'm just like, wow, okay. And I find myself coming back to this card a lot because it is just, it's a lesson that I obviously am going to take a long time to get to really understand that in this lifetime. Hopefully I will in this lifetime, but we'll see, we'll see. But yeah, so they are my favourite decks for 2017. There's some new ones that I've been working with for 2018, and I think I'll do a separate video about that, because even though these are my favourites for 2017, there's a couple that I haven't actually used because I've been using you know, decks that I've gotten recently. So I'll do a little video of those sometime soon. But until then, thank you for watching, and I will speak to you again real soon. Okay, take care. Bye.